So Jujutsu Infinite has done another update, and this time we're going to be going over the curse technique, projection, sorcery. Now, off rip, projection sorcery, it's a legendary, and I honestly think it's very fitting of a legendary. So I'm just going to do this showcase pretty simply like how I did my other two showcases. I'm going to just basically showcase all of the skills, and then inside the next section of this video, I'll actually give you a description on what they're supposed to be doing. But the first skill is going to be projection keyframe kick, and this is the Z ability. So you kind of just kick very forward, and depending on if you hit something or don't, you actually do get a speed boost off of the skill. So, you know, it's pretty nice. It looks like it could be a combo extender too if you use it fast. Next skill is frame stack punch. Kind of just like hold multiple frames in front of your face, and then you just punch them and break them. Your next skill is frame flicker. Now this skill, you're going to be using this skill to put frames on your person, or to actually like keep the person that you're hitting inside of a frame. So as you can see, I hit this dummy and I actually did end up getting a speed boost. I'm not sure if they were put into a frame because it's like you're moving faster than you can actually turn around and turn. I'm gonna use it and I'm gonna see if I hit the dummy in the frame. Yeah, I think I did, but anyways, that's frame flicker. You use that skill to put your opponent inside of a frame, and I'm gonna explain the frames to the next section. The next one is frame 1 counter. So this is frame 1 counter. And as you can see, it basically just puts you behind the opponent. The cooldown for that is 50 seconds. So it's a 50-second counter attack that doesn't, like, you know, really do much. It's pretty alright. Now your next skill is going to be frame rewind. I think this is the coolest skill in this curse technique. But essentially you have like a roll of frame around you, and you walk inside like a predetermined path. I'm pretty sure you have up to 24 moves available. But then if you were to press the skill again, you're basically going to retrace all of your steps, and you do damage depending on, you know, and you do damage to anybody who's inside like that line path of frames. It's honestly super cool, and the cooldown for it is pretty low itself, so it's not like it's going to be a really hard skill to use. You get what I'm trying to say. I think it's just the coolest skill. Now your next skill is going to be frame break combo, and it's kind of what it seems. It's like you put them inside of a frame, and you grab them and you slam them down. This skill can also be chanted. It's going to be inside the main game. It's not currently inside the testing server, so I can't show the chanted version, but the chanted version would basically just amplify the damage, and I'm pretty sure it would extend it by one more kick inside the air. Even still, that's the combo. Next you have frame barrage, and this is your last skill besides the actual domain expansion. And as you can see, that was like a quick combo-ish type of skill. Now I'm not sure if you were able to like see it, but I showcase all these skills pretty fast, and that's because the main way that you're supposed to be playing this curse technique according to developers is you're supposed to get fast, cheap damage. They wanted to create this technique without having you like get a lot of combos, so it's not like you would be having a really long hitting combo. The point of this curse technique is to kind of just get like cheap damage in on your opponent very fast without being able to be caught. So you're kind of fighting just like Naruto from the show. You just move around really fast, you put your opponent inside of a frame, and then you just break the frame and do heavy damage to them. Anyways though, it does have a domain expansion, and this is the domain expansion, Time Cell Moon Palace. So this domain, it's honestly pretty eerie because you just have an eye staring at you, but it does kind of put this frame along the person who's inside of it. Now if this domain is going to work how I think it should be working, is that if these dummies were able to move, they would be taking damage, or I would be able to see where they're going, but there isn't any moving dummies inside the testing server, so I can't really tell you like the main thing that this domain expansion does. I do see though that my skills, they do more damage in here, but that's like every single domain. I'm using every single frame flicker too, frame stack punch. Like, I mean, the damage is still just really weak because this curse technique's not meant to do damage. Yeah, like everything is just really weak for this curse technique. I'll try to use a domain on a jumping dummy. I can't really test it out on anybody here because nobody else really like plays this game or has testing for it. Alright, now for the breakdown on this curse technique. So I have information for every single skill besides the domain expansion, but I'll talk more about that when I actually get to it. So for the first skill on this curse technique, is going to be your key frame kick. This skill essentially is just you kicking at a very high speed, and it basically is meant to shatter the freeze frames that you actually put that person in. So I'll actually start off by explaining the freeze frames for this curse technique. So the main idea for this curse technique is that you apply a freeze frame through hard to hit moves, and then using your fast movements, you essentially just throw off the opponent. Now the combos for this are meant to be high damage and short, and along with that, your M1s, M2s, and certain moves are able to break the freeze frames that you put the opponent in, and they'll basically do 1.5 times damage. But to go with the skills, this is keyframe kick. This skill is meant to be breaking your frames, which means you would have to apply the frame on somebody first and then use that skill as a follow-up. Your next skill is going to be frame stack punch. Now this skill is honestly just like kick. The only difference is that it's a punch, and it's like you place frames in the air and then you just punch it. It's essentially just a long range punching skill. Now your next skill, frame flicker, is actually a skill that does apply the frames onto something. So I'll use frame flicker, and I mean, you kind of briefly saw it, but this dummy did turn into a frame, and it's not even there anymore. That's why I wish there was like a larger indicator for it. But the main point is that you're supposed to use frame flicker, which does have a very short cooldown, as often as you need to, or as much time as you want, and then you use one of your skills right after to follow up and just do a lot of damage with it. But frame flicker, this is your skill that's actually going to be used to apply frames to the enemy. I tried holding it too to see if something would change, but it doesn't really. My M1 and M2s are also supposed to be breaking the frames, but I'm hitting the dummy and I'm doing the same damage as I was before. So yeah. Now your next skill that applies frames is going to be frame 1 counter. It's essentially put them inside a counter attack, and then ideally you would break the frame right behind them. It's pretty good, but it does have a 50-second cooldown. And one thing I personally don't like about this curse technique is that the only 2 skills that are going to be applying frames for this whole entire curse technique is literally just going to be frame flicker and your frame 1 counter. Now the point of it is supposed to be so like you always use frame flicker no matter what type of moveset you're using. So you would always have to use frame flicker to get that 1.5 times damage buff so that you could break the frame. And then the only other skill that does it is going to be frame 1 counter. Now, if you were to just want to use this curse technique alone, you honestly would be getting diffed by like anything, because there's only 2 skills that apply frames, and I'm not sure if one of them is bugged, but it's not really applying frames for the dummies. So yeah. Now your next skill, this skill is going to be frame rewind. I personally think it's like the coolest skill inside this whole entire curse technique. Now what frame rewind does, while it's active, the user walks down a predetermined set of movements. Basically, you walk inside 24 frames, and then when you press the skill again, you'll essentially go back to where you were before at the start of the tape roll, and you'll just break freeze frames with this. So I'm just gonna use frame rewind here. You can see it's like, I honestly think it's super cool. Like this is really cool. Like I can't even lie to you. And then yeah, I just press B again and it brought me back to where I was originally. This is a skill that I would probably run like 1 off, so I will use this more as like a getaway skill. Now the skill doesn't last that long. I'll use it from right here and you get to see how far I can walk with it on. So I'm using it right here. I'm just gonna walk straight, and as you can see, I can go all the way back to where I started. But one thing to note with this skill is that even if you like if you don't press B again and it kind of just ends right here, or you go past 24 frames, you can press B again and be able to just use it again. So I guess you can use it to like get an idea of what your opponent's going to be doing, and then whenever you feel like it's necessary to actually use the skill, you can go back and do that. So I think that's obviously a pretty good skill. Now your next skill is frame break combo. This one is essentially, I mean, it's literally just a frame break combo. There's not really much to it. You just basically do a combo on your opponent. Next skill is going to be frame barrage, and it's kind of the same like frame break combo. You put a frame on your opponent and then you just do a barrage of kicks and punches, and then you just knock them very far away. So that's all the skills for this curse technique. Honestly, like I think it's just very underwhelming. Like the whole playstyle of it is that you put these frames on the person and you just move around super fast, just tagging them for quick and easy damage. It's a legendary technique, so I'm not expecting the most out of it, but comparing this to other legendaries, like I'm pretty sure, I'm not sure what it's called, but you know, Jogo's legendary curse technique, like there is just a huge gap. I don't think that projection sorcery is going to be good for PvP. Well, yeah, maybe it'll be all right. I don't think it's going to be good for PvP, and you're not using this inside PvE because like it just, like the damage is just not there. the whole point of this is definitely made for be fighting against another player, and I don't feel like it even excels that good at it. Now, I would love to be wrong because I do think that this curse technique is super cool, but I mean, there's also an effect with the domain expansion where they have like this time roll on them. Alright, so I just got information on this domain expansion, Time Cell Moon Palace. So earlier in the video, I said I don't know anything, but the developers recently just gave us the whole entire update log and they kind of explained it themselves. So how this domain expansion is going to be working is essentially any person that you trap inside this domain expansion, when they're under the watchful eye, when blocking, punching, heavy attacking, or using a skill, it will activate the eye. Now, if you try to perform another action listed before the eye has closed, then they will take damage and become frozen for not obeying the rule. So what this means is if the person that you caught inside this domain expansion, if they block, the only thing that they can do inside this domain expansion is block. If they punch, the only thing that they can do inside this domain expansion is punch, and if they heavy, the only thing that they can do inside this domain expansion is heavy, and it's the same thing for using a skill. If they were to try to do something else inside this domain expansion, they will basically become frozen because they're not obeying the 24 frames per second rule. So there's not really an effective way to show this inside the test server, so I guess I'll just show you the effect. I guess I'll just show you how it looks when the person's actually following the effect. So I have the attacking dummy right here, and I also have the blocking dummy. Now these were two of the listed actions because it's M1ing and blocking, and this is the domain expansion where I caught them both in. So following what the developer said, basically if these dummies were to have separate actions or if they were to try anything else, as you can see, this time roll appeared on this dummy and it actually is becoming frozen. So I guess it's just becoming frozen because it's constantly trying to M1. And as you can see here with the blocking dummies aren't becoming frozen. So it becomes a freeze frame, and if I break that freeze frame, I do increase damage and it does hit a shattering effect. Now the freeze frame does last very short, but you do get to see the effect. Basically, you can't really move inside this domain expansion. I honestly think it's super cool. I did not notice how it would work before. The blocking dummy, I mean, it's not gonna do it. So I guess the main way to counter this domain expansion would be to just hold block. But if I break their guard and they start blocking again, yeah, they don't get frozen. So yeah, once you go down a predetermined path inside this domain expansion, you can't. Actually, I didn't mean to say that. Once you go down a certain path inside this domain expansion, don't try to switch it up, or else you will just become frozen like this dummy here. So yeah, honestly, this domain expansion is super cool. I don't know if I would still say that it's worth the curse technique. I think that the domain expansion could be like a one-off thing that you just get on its own. And I guess even when you come out the domain expansion, NPC right here is still kind of bugged and doing the predetermined path thing. But that's the domain expansion, Time Cell Moon Palace. Overall, this curse technique is honestly, it's pretty cool. Projection Sorcery to me is just one of the coolest things ever from Jujutsu Kaisen. So I wouldn't really say to like use this as like the main curse technique. I would tell you to get it because it's only legendary. It shouldn't even be that hard to get. But would I recommend getting the domain expansion? I'm not really sure. Like the domain expansion works, but the thing is, like, even when they're frozen in a frame, it's not like you're doing increased damage, because right there I just did 121, and when they're out of a frame, I'm going to be doing, oh yeah, put in frame again. When they're out of a frame, I do 81. So that's literally like, what, that's a 40 damage increase on my M1. I mean, it's only 1.5 times damage, but even still, like, it's not a lot. Let me see how much free keyframe kick does. Keyframe kick, no, I can't really see. I'll use the punch. Yeah, the punch did 364, and I'm pretty sure it typically does 315. So yeah, I don't know, like this domain, I mean, it's alright, but if this video did help you, feel free to like just let me know that it helped you. Like, comment, subscribe. I do appreciate any support on these videos like usual. I am grateful for people watching these, and besides that, hopefully you have a nice day, and thanks for watching.